And we're in this thing. This is the Just North Sports Show. Don't forget to check us out every Friday night. That's 8 p.m. Anchor, FM, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Also, the YouTube channel is up and popping, the IG channel. All that funky stuff, the Wild Card Weekend, Super Wild Card Weekend is concluded. Hey, you know the interesting thing I found out, Reason?
What's that?
Was the actual, just by looking at some of the, I guess, golden era of football footage and highlights and NFL game of the week. They used to come on in the early '80s, I guess, when I was a child. Monday divisional and wild card playoff games are nothing new.
What? What?
Yeah.
I don't remember that on a Monday.
The 83 divisional playoff game was played on December 26th in Texas Stadium. Eric Dickerson and the Rams' Vince Ferragamo came into Texas Stadium and beat Tuttle Jones, Tony Dorsett, and that version of the Dallas Cowboys.
That was on Monday night?
That was on a Monday at 2:30, day after Christmas.
Oh, well, yeah, I can see that one happening because, a lot of people off of work and,
Yeah, kind of found that interesting.
Because everybody going to be off on Sunday, so.
Well, I think it was the day after Christmas, that particular contest. And I guess the NFL didn't want to have them playing a playoff game on Christmas. So that particular playoff game was a 2:30 kickoff at the old Texas Stadium. So it's just kind of amazing some of the things you find out when you look back at the history of the NFL. I wasn't too blown away by what happened this weekend. I think Baltimore-Cincinnati ended up being a good one. Of course, we all know what happened in Florida. Brandon Staley should be fired, by the way. The Dolphins and the Bills was a good game. I think we were all kind of leaning towards, hey, don't be surprised if Minnesota get caught slipping type thing. So,
yeah, overall, Juice made some interesting points about them backsliding into the playoffs and backpedaling. I wasn't surprised either by none of these outcomes. No.
Yeah. I think overall, I would give it about a 7. 7 out of a possible 10. 7 out of a 10. I would give it 7 out of 10. Baltimore, Cincinnati, like I said, they're trying to be good. And look up, and the Buffalo Miami game was a lot closer than what people expected. And then we had Minnesota choking, as we pretty much predicted. I had a feeling Dallas was going to do that to Tampa. And it's not because I picked him to win the NFC East and I admire Michael Parsons' talent. It's just the fact that
I don't even think it was on Brady.
Tampa Bay hadn't been playing that good. They just kind of got into the playoffs by default. And I kind of knew Dallas, that wasn't the real Dallas that showed up that last week out there in Washington, D.C. So I just kind of figured they'd take them boys to the woodshed, and that's kind of what happened.
I think Tom Brady, I'm looking at this game and I'm like, he has no O-line. And I've always said, if you have no O-line, I don't care who's playing quarterback. It's like as soon as they snap the ball, Parsons or the guy they got from the Raiders, Hankins, somebody getting back there. And it looked ridiculous.
We need to remember that that Tampa Bay defense wasn't the same. There was no Shaq Barrett. There was no Jason Pierre-Paul, no Dominican Sue. Levante David and Devin White couldn't really do much because they weren't getting any pressure on Dak. So
but do you
I didn't
think
take
they
that
were
into account.
Exhausted?
Yeah. Say again?
Do you think Tampa's defense was exhausted from all those 3 and outs? You got to say
that could have been a factor too, but they just couldn't get any pressure on Dak. Dak was back there comfortable pretty much the entire night. And then plus on top of the Tampa Bay's offense not being very good. So was like a double whammy for them.
Tom coming back to the Bucks, or where y'all see Tom going?
Man, he sounded like he's gonna retire, man. That's just me. I just what I it sounded like when he was at the podium at the press conference.
What you think about it, Doc? You think he's gonna get on out of there? Or?
I think Tom has played his last game. I think at some point you gotta just cut your losses, and not even losses, just call it a good career and slide on out into the sunset. I mean, he had a good run, but he had a good run, and he didn't look particularly sharp, didn't look particularly well, and the whole thing. I mean, you got to think about it. You're almost 50 years old, bro. You're 46. Mm-hmm. You don't want to go through a training camp. You don't want to spend. You don't want to do the 2 days. And I get it. He's earned that right to kind of just show up, but you can't do that at a professional level, at a high level. Just kind of show up and walk into the building. Look, we saw MJ retire, and even though he was still MJ, he wasn't MJ. If you dig what I'm saying. So, and they ended up getting swept by the Magic. Well, not swept. They ended up losing 4-2 to the Magic, and he came back and played like 30-something games. So these are professional athletes too. It's just continuity. You got to spend that time. You got to spend that time in there. And I think we've seen the last of Tom Brady. And I want to discuss something real quick. There's no way Brandon Staley should have a job. He should be fired. And anybody with some sense, and let me just speak to the black coaches out there, and I'm going to take a little bit of this Stephen A. Smith approach. I would stay far away from Houston, Texas as possible. You have a hard time convincing me that Lovie Smith got a fair shake down there. And it was a mercy hire because he sat on that staff for 3, 4, 5 years maybe in Houston with all the racist stuff that was going on down there with McNair and O'Brien and all that stuff, and the buck breaking Willie Lynch tactics that they used on DeAndre Hopkins. He ended up leaving. And once it got exposed, it was like, we got Lovie Smith. Let's just get him the job so we can save face. And he's got nothing out there. He's got turtleneck David Mills and a running back and a serviceable but washed up Brandon Cooks. And you fired a man after 1 year because he lost the locker room. Well, I mean, how is he supposed to honestly win? So here's the play. And me and Greasy was talking about this last year, and I'm going to say it again. Let Cliff Kingsbury go down there and clean that mess up. He's smart.
They trying to get Sean Payton.
Let Kellen Moore go down there and clean that toilet with nothing. With nothing but a rookie quarterback and a pretty good running back. You let him go down there and you clean it up, and you let him stockpile some draft picks and see if a free agent come in, and then you fire him after 2 years. And then if you're D'Amico Ryans, if you're Eric Bieniemy, after the team has built continuity and talent, and a couple of free agents come down there, and Jacksonville's gotten a little bit older, or Derrick Henry's about to retire, or on the downside of his career, then you go in there, and then you come in there, and then you win you 11, 12 ball games. But flip the script. Stop going there and saving these racist white franchises and let them run you in the ground and say, see, we gave him a shot. He couldn't win. And then they hire the next super genius white boy to come in there and he fix everything. And I'm just going to be transparent with it. Lovie Smith, you dummy. You should have never taken that job in the first place. That's his fault.
Well, I say they give the Caucasians a little bit more leash. Well, no, not a little bit, a lot more leash. But I agree with you, Doc. I mean, Lovie Smith, that's not gonna cut it, bro.
It's not gonna cut it. That's not gonna cut it. But anywho, moving right along. So now we're at the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. the NFL divisional round. I'm thinking back to some real good divisional playoff games, and I can't think of just anything just super great right now. I'm pretty sure it'll come to me as we wrapping the podcast up. But just one game I remember, like right off the rip, was 1996. Natron Means and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Broncos got number one seed in the AFC, and the Jaguars beat them. And if you listen to Shannon Sharp, McCaffrey, Terrell Davis, John Elway, that was the catalyst for them winning back-to-back. And they said even though they went on to win 2 Super Bowl championships, that was the game that hurt. If you go back to 85 divisional championship, the Giants had a pretty good defense, but they went into Soldier Field and they found out what defense was. I think it was 21-0 against the Monsters of the Midway, Buddy Ryan and that 46 defense. Nobody was beating 85 Chicago that year. It just wasn't happening. Maybe Marino and them if they got him a second chance because of Buddy Ryan's refusal to switch into a nickel, but it just wasn't to be. I think even if they got Marino in that second year, in that second game in the rematch in Super Bowl, I think the Bears beat them. I think it was simply that time. But that was a memorable divisional game because the Giants, they played good defensively, and Lawrence Taylor and Carl Banks, they played, good defensively. They just were not, I can't even think of the word right now, but they just were not intense. Lawrence Taylor said, we found out what intense was. And that, of course, was a catalyst of the Giants to go ahead and turn around in 1986, and they won the whole thing. So let's take a look at Jacksonville and Kansas City.
That is not a gimme.
I mean, I'm not going to try to get too deep into this thing. I think it's really, really simple. I think Jacksonville's a cute story, and maybe I was a little too hard on Trevor Lawrence, But then again, it's the Chargers. So I'm not going to, try to make him like he was Fran Tarkington or Johnny Unitas. It's the Chargers. And Brandon Staley is a bonehead, and he's pretty foolish. And they got what they got. And should they have won that game? Absolutely. Brandon Staley should be fired. Like I said, it's Patrick Mahomes. And, they lose Tyreek Hill, so the playbook's kind of opened up. It's kind of like you have a center like Shaq or a prime Kareem, and they twist their ankle. Instead of dumping the ball down there 30 or 40 times a game, now you realize, let's move Magic to center. Let's move Kobe to power forward. And what it forces everybody else to do is elevate their game. So Tyreek Hill took the top off the defense. And Patrick Mahomes, he went out there and he still threw for 5,500 yards and 50 touchdowns. And the crazy thing about it is it's just kind of like, is that the new norm? Is Patrick Mahomes going out there throwing 50 touchdowns? Is that just what it's going to be? And we're going to kind of get so used to it that it doesn't even really, move us the way it should. It's Patrick Mahomes. We can't see the Chiefs. Cute story, Jacksonville. I think this one gets out of control late. I think Jacksonville can put up some points. We know Kansas City is not the purple people either. The Baltimore 2000. They're not Monsters of the Midway, Doomsday. They're none of that. The black hole with the Raiders, they're none of that. I think they can put up some points. I'm going to give Jacksonville and Sunshine them. I'm going to give them 20 points. I think they keep it close. And going into halftime, I think the Chiefs, and on into the third quarter, I think the Chiefs kind of put their hammer down. They'll score late. They'll score often. Give me the Chiefs 37. Give me Jacksonville 20. And it ends with Jacksonville, boys. Duval is going home for the rest of this year anyways. Wow.
Well, we have a pretty good – I think we're thinking kind of on the same lines as far as the score, but they met back in Week 10. It was a pretty competitive game, but again, Patrick Mahomes was the difference. I mean, he was making plays with his arm and his legs. I really like their running back Isaiah Pacheco. He's a guy that's very versatile and runs hard. They also got the Lawrence 5 times, so. But as far as this game goes, it's really hard to win in Arrowhead, as we know. I just think that the Chiefs are just more well-rounded as a team. I got the Chiefs winning 33-20.
Now, when Jacksonville and Kansas City met earlier in the season, Jacksonville came into that ball game 2-6. KC was 6-2. Jacksonville controlled the TOP, the time of possession, and they forced 3 turnovers. You know, and this wasn't a beatdown. You know, so that's kind of concerning. I mean, this game was close. I think we get another close one. I'm thinking on the lines of like 24-17 Kansas City. 24-17 KC. But it will not surprise me Jacksonville going here and pull an upset. It won't even surprise me. Because that first meeting, when they first met, Jacksonville was thinking about who they picking in this upcoming draft. And Trevor Lawrence played excellent that game. Excellent. Was that almost 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a column that means the most to me is 0 interceptions. Now he's playing even better. I'm still gonna take Kansas City with the 24-17, but it's not gonna shock me. It's not gonna shock me if Jacksonville pull this. It's not gonna shock me. Who we got next?
Y'all see it. Giants and Eagles. NFC East rivalry. Like I said, I don't think anybody was too surprised that Kirk Cousins and threw a check down on 4th and 8 with the entire season on the line. I don't think nobody was surprised by that. And considering that, and I think it was week 15, it took a 61-yard field goal for them to even beat the Giants the first time, that the Giants were able to go in there and pull it off.
Are you seeing these scores?
Yeah, I'm seeing
that was the first meeting, 48-22.
Yeah, I'm seeing what happened with this particular ball game. Third time, you don't want to play. I don't care what any of this says in the regular season. You just don't want to play a division rival the third time in that season. And this is not just a division rival that you're playing 3 times in the season. You got to think football is a sport of continuity. So some of the players on the Giants, they've seen Jalen Hurts. Some of the offensive linemen, they know what Fletcher Cox is about, and big play Slay, and vice versa. And on paper, as far as I've heard, Jalen Hurts is 100%. I don't hear anything startling on the injury front as far as this game is concerned. Kayvon Thibodeau. He's turning out to be one of the better defensive players that the Giants have picked up in most recent memory. For all intents and purposes, it looks like if you just line them up, Philly has more of the guys, the top 100 players. They're going to have more players besides Saquon Barkley, and maybe Thibodeau creeps in there this year. If you look at it just player for player, I think Philly's deeper. I think Philly's a more complete team. I think they got a running game, they got a passing game, an awesome defensive line. And if they get you in 3rd and long, it's going to be a long, long day. I like Saquon. I like how he's bounced back. Key is, can he control the line of scrimmage? Can they shorten the game? Bill Parcells was a master of shortening ball games. 1990 NFC Championship. See that. See the Super Bowl, 1990. They shortened the game, ate up the whole 3rd quarter, kept Thurman Thomas and Andre Reed and Kelly and those guys on the bench. K-Gun was a water pistol by the time they got back on the field in the 4th quarter. Can the Giants shorten the game with Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones running and hitting a couple of those tight ends and stuff like that, just to keep the game close? Because if you keep the game close, anything can happen. And all it takes is a late fumble or interception, and the Giants can kick a field goal and get up out of there. With all that hoopla and all that being said, I think the Eagles advance. I don't think they roll. I'm not going to pick them to roll. I think they just do just enough to beat the Giants. I'm going to go the Eagles 30 and give me the Giants 22. I think they keep it close and they kick a couple of field goals, but in the end, I think Philly's a more complete team, and I think Philly will advance to the next round, and they will indeed host the NFC Championship.
Yeah, I think me and Greasy had a conversation. I think he asked me. I remember him asking me, "Who's your NFC team?" And he was picking the 49ers, and I picked the Eagles. But uh, doesn't Jalen Hurts have a shoulder issue? Isn't that correct?
Uh, it should be
He
he'll.
hurt his shoulder, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But
Okay.
with the extra rest, he'll be, he'll be
Okay.
gunning for the stars.
Okay.
He'll be ready.
Well, so that's really my concern. Him being able to push the ball down the field to his playmakers. And I'm sure that this is what I think is going to happen. They're not going to try. They're not going to run Hurts. Have design runs for him. They're going to try to feature Miles Sanders through most of the game. But I'm not sure if they can just straight pound the Giants because they've been pretty strong in the run defense. And as far as Daniel Jones, I mean, he's been playing really good football, not turning it over. Brian Daboll has been putting him in situations where he's been making plays with his legs. So with that being said, I'm actually going to go with the Giants in this one because I'm concerned about Jalen Hurts and his shoulder. So it'll be a close game, but I got the Giants winning 27-23.
Mm. Well, if the Giants were to win, and they face the 49ers, basically the Giants are going to the Super Bowl. I will say that because 49ers cannot beat the Giants in postseason play. Hard one. I think the Eagles get the trifecta. I think they get the hat trick. We all know what Minnesota was. We knew about the backpedaling and the suspect, on both sides of the ball. This one thing about the Eagles, they've been very consistent this entire season, but it's always that number one seed that gets put out. I don't care if it's in the AFC or NFC. Do I think it's the Eagles? No, I don't. It's always that one team that get put out during that bye. I don't think it's the Eagles. I would probably have to, like I say, even though I picked Kansas City, I probably would say it would be them that get put out. But I'm gonna go with the Eagles in this one. Don't give me the Eagles. 31-24 Eagles.
Good. That's good.
So you're going 31-24 Eagles. I think, pretty much the consensus is that the Eagles are the more complete team and they'll get that thing done. Slide on over to the AFC. This is a rematch of the Monday night game. Blessings to Damar Hamlin. He's able to. I mean, from all reports, he's back doing his thing. They even said that he's got a chance to even play football. That's up to him. It's a totally different story where everybody wants to take a chance on him, liabilities and all that stuff. We don't get into all that. But they're playing for Damar, I guess. Got a little chip on their shoulder. This is going to be this is a pick 'em. This is a pick 'em. And thanks to the Baltimore Ravens and their inability to capitalize when they started off, 4-2, when they should have really been 6-0. And they let kind of Cincinnati kind of hang around. Then Lamar Jackson got hurt, and there you go. Cincinnati won the division. Cincinnati has earned the right to say, we're for real. They have earned the right. I didn't even expect them to make the playoffs. I thought they was going to fall off. I know they had a bunch of key additions in the offseason, but now they do have a couple of injuries on the offensive line. I think name will pop up here in a minute as we scroll through some of the highlights. The Does Buffalo have enough on the defensive side to get after Burrow? Possibly. The key matchup is going to be Jamar Chase and Davis White on the outside in Buffalo. That's going to be a key matchup. But Buffalo is going to have some problems because Cincinnati has three, basically, number one wide receivers in Joe Mixon. Could they spread it out and go short pass and move the ball against Buffalo? Possibly. Cincinnati, Eli Apple, get him as far away from Stephon Diggs as possible because if it comes down to Eli Apple or Stephon Diggs, Buffalo is going to the AFC Championship. I'll tell you that right now. Here's the thing about Buffalo, sometimes they just come out there and they just wet the bed. You know, sometimes Buffalo just have these stinkers. A stinker of a ball game. It just kind of comes out of nowhere. Like that game against Miami, it shouldn't have been that close. It just should have not. To me, it just should have not been that close. But again, that's a division rival, and that's kind of why the point I was making versus the Giants and the Eagles. They've seen each other 3 times, and they kind of get under each other's nerves and all that good stuff. But they pulled it off. Cincinnati, you can say the same thing. Like no Lamar Jackson, they had Hundley, and Baltimore honestly probably should have won that game too. And then even after the 98.5-yard fumble recovery, which they should have gave the ball to Dobbs or spread them out or did something different. But at any rate, it was the third time seeing Baltimore. And those teams, they don't like each other and they get after each other and all that stuff. So both of them are extremely lucky to be advancing. When you come to X and O's, like I said, you got White on the outside versus Chase, but T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, I mean, could they feast on some of the other members of the Buffalo secondary? And Buffalo's kind of one-dimensional, people. They don't really run the ball that well. I'm just being honest. To me, they don't run it well enough to really just be like, okay, if Josh Allen's having a bad game and Diggs is frustrated and, you know, if the offense is going on the field, like they possibly could see Patrick Mahomes, can we get 2 or 3 first downs in the half and eat up 6 minutes? No, they don't have that type of offense. I haven't seen it all year, and I think that's one of the things that's sorely lacking. I'm going to get on to it. This is going to be a close game, and I think this is going to be probably one of the better games. Just if you look at it, mono, paper for paper, I think Buffalo's won 9 in a row, Cincinnati won 8 in a row. Somebody's going home. And I know I picked Buffalo to make it to the AFC Championship, and I predicted them to lose against Baltimore. That's not going to materialize as Baltimore sitting at home. With that being said, I love the DeMar Hamlin story. I love the Bills Mafia, whatever they call themselves up there in Orchard. Could be a little cold. Maybe we'll see some little snow. Maybe we'll see some frigid temperatures, all that good stuff. I'm going Cincinnati in this one. And I don't know why.
Wow.
I just feel like Cincinnati is going to find a way to beat them. And Cincinnati is going to be looking at Kansas City, I think, in the AFC Championship. Give me Cincinnati 31, Buffalo 28. I think Cincinnati advances.
Man.
That's my take.
Is on the white. Oh, you gonna get it, Juice?
Yeah, let me get it real quick. I'll say this, man. Both teams are pretty evenly matched. We know both quarterbacks are elite. However, I think both of them have some issues going into this game. One, Josh Allen has been turning the ball over as of late. Joe Burrow he's still vulnerable behind an offensive line that's not great either. My question is, though, can Buffalo get to Burrow and make him uncomfortable? I think the Bills have the better defense overall, so I think they can get to Burrow enough. So I got Buffalo winning this game. Josh Allen will make enough plays throwing and running the ball. So I got the Bills winning in a close game, 38-31.
You know, I think a lot of us have pretty much not seen, we've seen the good sides. We know the potential, basically, is what I'm trying to say, of the Buffalo Bills. But sadly to say, fellas, this is another team. I mean, but we just haven't talked about them like that, Juice, and not even me and you. This is a team that they're not really too much better than the Vikings at the end of the day. The secondary is banged up. Miller's gone for the season, and the Dolphins should, but if ifs and buts were nuts, we'll all have a merry little Christmas. I don't like this game for the Bills. I do not like it. They'd have been better playing Jacksonville, having that Florida team go up there and deal with that cold weather. I don't like this. On the other hand, with the Bengals, they can run the football with P. Ryan and arguably one of the best backs in the league with Mixon, and that receiving core coached by our old classmate is phenomenal. The defense, Hubbard, leads the, rally the troops. I keep saying this, that Cincy defense is no slouch. And Josh Allen has been playing sloppy even towards the latter part of the season. Give me the Bengals 24 and give me the Bills 14. Final score 24-14 Cincy.
All right, he got Cincy advancing to the AFC Championship, and this is the last one that we're gonna talk about. We know what it is. Two of the premier franchises in the NFL, along with the Raiders, Steelers, Patriots. Two of the winningest franchises, and they had it again. And last year, when it was coming toward this particular game, I was like, Dallas, y'all, this is not the team I wanted to see. 49ers play old school football, and it travels and it translates. And it's the reason why the 49ers are like, for the last, with Kaepernick, kind of like 14, 15, 16 up until now, they haven't quite been able to bring it home. They made, 3-4 NFC championships, 2 Super Bowls, but they're always kind of like hanging around. And that's a testament to culture. That's a testament to culture. And with Harbaugh, he built the monster defense, Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman, Alden Smith, those boys, Reed, Justin Smith, the Cowboy. Remember that team. And now with Shanahan and what they're doing with the quarterback carousel, props to Brian Greasy Jr. Nobody's giving him credit. I think it's his first year coaching up the quarterbacks. Had Trey Lance was predicted starter, held on to Jimmy G, and for all intents and purposes, it looks like he's had a lot to do with the development of Brock Purdy. Now, everybody wants to say it's a system, quarterback, system. Well, that's true to a certain extent, but, Garoppolo has the same system and weapons and talent, and he wasn't able to get it done. And if you go back to Harbaugh, Alex Smith had the same monster defense, and Frank Gore and Vernon Davis, and he couldn't advance them. So, at some point, you got to get a quarterbacks and stuff credit. And there's a reason, like I said, whenever the 49ers get on that little run, it kind of seems like they always start off like, the 49ers ain't going to do nothing. And then before you know it, like last year, they kind of started off like whatever, and then they got hot and won some ball games. Now they won 11 games in a row. And they do, and they stick to it, and they make it happen, and they keep it moving, and they're not going to be. I don't know with this particular ball game what's going to happen, how it's going to go down. Like I said, it is a testament to what Shanahan has been able to do. They play old school football. Dallas is coming in. If this Dallas team that shows up, well, if the Dallas team that showed up Monday night shows up in Santa Clara on Sunday, yeah, we could be looking at the 72 divisional round where 49ers went up and Staubach came back. We could be looking at a miracle catch, and we could be looking at an 82 NFC championship. We could be looking at a 1992 NFC championship. 49ers were still the big dogs at the time. Dallas was young, fast up and coming, didn't necessarily have the experience. And Alvin Harper galloped 70-something yards through the secondary, and Dallas is on their way. And that was the end of the 80s, early 90s 49ers. Effectively, yeah, that was Montana's last game out there. So that was the end of Keena Turner and that whole crew, some of those hangovers. Big Michael Parsons fan, he's the guy. He's the guy. You gotta get this guy blocked. Purdy hasn't had a bad game. The 49ers have won 11 games in a row. Two things. Win that many games in a row, at some point you're just gonna go out there and you're just gonna get your butt kicked. It happens. Dallas is full of professional athletes, and they got some players over there too. And we give them a lot of slack and stuff, but hey, they get paid just like players on the 49ers. And Purdy hasn't had that one F-up game, if you know what I'm saying. Like, he hadn't really just went out there and just been like, oh, man, the deer in headlights type of thing. And don't get it twisted. Like I said, back to Shanahan. Like, a lot of this stuff is designed to have Kittle 20 yards down the field with a 200-pound safety or a 200-pound cornerback or whatever. It's designed. He's supposed to be wide open, which is why Jimmy G should have been up out of there. And Purdy's just realizing I can see the field now. And if you really, really just run this offense and run it the way it's supposed to be run, these receivers are going to be wide open, and you got a headache. Dallas, buckle your chin straps, because you know what the 49ers do. They coming at you. And it's going to be slobber knocking. It's going to be physical. And if the Cowboys can't stand up to what the 49ers are going to do, which is 80s, mid-80s, early 90s, smash mouth, three yards in the cloud of dust football, then Dallas going to get blown up off the field. With this particular game, I think it's just too much. I think the 49ers are hot. I'm kind of wondering, when is this just one bad game? But before I get my pick, if you're the 49ers, it's a win-win situation. You made it to the division round of the playoffs with Mr. Irrelevant. So, at any rate, it's still a success. It's still a success. I mean, this is a win-now team, and at some point, Purdy's going to slip up. But it won't be this week. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the 49ers are just – I think the 49ers are too physical for Dallas at this point, especially at the point of attack. I get it. Michael Parsons – it's out of him and Bosa. I would lean toward Bosa now. Blinders off for being Defensive Player of the Year. Parsons kind of started off hot. But it's going to be one at the line of scrimmage. I'm still waiting on DeMarcus Lawrence to be that Neil Smith to his Derek Thomas, that Otis Wilson to his Mike Singletary, that Carl Banks to his Lawrence Taylor, that you got to have that complimentary guy, that Peter Boulware to the Ray Lewis. And he got his money, and it just hasn't happened. Now, they're going to move Parsons around, and they're going to do all this and that, and they're going to do all this and that. But San Francisco isn't constructed to sit back and shotgun and let Michael Parsons just go Hulkamania hog wild and blitz off from all over the place. He's going to get some of big, nasty Trent Williams. He's going to get some of Debo. He's going to get some of Kittle, and they're going to try to put him in the water cooler. They're going to try to mash him up. Give me the 49ers in this one. I think it's a close game. I think Dallas has one too many turnovers and one too many missed opportunities. I think this is going to be a classic. Give me the 49ers 28, give me the Cowboys 24. And the 49ers will be playing the Eagles next Sunday for the NFC Championship.
Yeah, man. I believe most people are looking forward to this game the most. You got America's team versus a historic rival from the Bay Area. As great as Dak and the Cowboys looked last week in their wild card game, um, we got to face the fact that the boys were simply a better team. Um, Dak is still under pressure in my view. Um, I think the question is, can he put those same type of numbers against a much better team, the Niners, and also can the Dallas defense stop the run? 49ers, we know they're going to run. They're going to run it. And they're going to run it often. Um, and considering how well Brock Purdy has played um, since he's taken over, he really hasn't faced a great defense. If you really look at the schedule, but that's not. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I'm just just looking at the facts. But Kyle Shanahan, we know what kind of play caller he is. He knows his personnel well and what they're going to be facing. Um, I think Brock Purdy will take what the Dallas defense gives him, and he'll be able to manage the game. The defense will force Dak into a critical turnover late. I got the 49ers winning 31-26.
Mm.
Mm.
Well, fellas, like I always say, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is a bad matchup. This is not no old man with a banged up offensive line like last week. This is not the walking wounded defense these Cowboys about to face. This is that 49er defense can get at. I'm watching this Seahawks game, and it's like Geno Smith running for his life. We all know Dak leads the league in interceptions, even though he played less games this season. I think it's going to be a lot of mistakes. 49ers offensively, it's just too much. If Brady is able to move the ball with that banged up line with old Julio Jones, and I might show up this week, Mike Evans, and McCaffrey, Mitchell, Kittles. They got Debo back, and Ayuk is like the X factor. Mm-hmm. You know what? This game at the stick, at the house, this team, this is the team I picked for the Super Bowl. Fellas, I know y'all ain't gonna like this score. I think it'll look good. If you like, my thing is, if you didn't see this game and you just saw the final score, you'll be like, oh, well, that ain't that bad. I mean, they were in the game. Nah, they're not gonna be in the game. They might be in the game for the first quarter and a half, just like or I'll even give them the halftime, just like Seattle was. And then the wheels fell off. Give me the 49ers 38, give me the Cowboys 21.
Okay.
So that's the route he going. He going Cowboys to fall on the road out there in Santa Clara. I think it was still kind of overcast and raining last I heard out there. Maybe they'll get a little bit of that old Santa Clara winds coming in, maybe a little overcast, and we'll see what's going down. But I'm expecting that to be a really good contest. And that's going to do it for tonight. We got on in there and got on down. And the NFL playoffs, we'll be looking at conference championships. We'll be looking at the Super Bowl that it's over. And then we'll be looking at the USFL. And, the NBA, and they doing their thing. And I'm looking at the Eastern Conference in the NBA right now. And it's 5 teams all jumbled up in that. So, we got Boston, of course. We got the Nets. They caught on fire. Got the Sixers still hanging around Milwaukee. And Cleveland and Donovan Mitchell and Mobley Edley and those guys. They still kind of hanging around. The West is kind of like not what it used to be. Well, everything was going to, be run. I can't put a finger on what's going on with the West. I mean, I like the Joker. I know what he's doing, but I just don't see Denver as just being that team that can't get their ass handed to them and get sent home. I just don't see it. And Memphis, they still too young. Memphis shows what they could be, but then every now and then they just go out there and show you how young and dumb they are. You know, the Lakers.
I don't think no one wants to win the Pacific.
Truth be told, y'all may think I'm crazy when I say this. The Lakers could very well win the West.
That's crazy.
And that's all you hear is the LeBron's playing for stats and AD can't stay healthy and they're in 12th place. Okay. Let them make the playoffs and AD is really, really, really healthy. And LeBron is playing 2 games a week, maybe 3. He might get you 3. But it seems like
he's playing out of his mind right now, man.
It seems like LeBron will go off for about 2 games and then he'll sit down. Oh, something's wrong. His foot is sore. Then he'll come back and say, "Man, the Lakers are like what, 15 and 17?" Okay, so you mean to tell me
24?
Okay,
24 games, 500.
So you mean to tell me the Lakers couldn't win 10 or 15 ball games? The next thing you know, they're 30 and 25 or 30 and 26 or whatever, or 33 and 26 or whatever. And in the first round, they played the Nuggets in the first round, and they're fully healthy. Like, I wouldn't be just totally surprised if the Lakers beat the Nuggets. It's the Nuggets, people. Like, period. It's the Nuggets. And then, like I said, the Memphis will go show you that they got all the talent in the world, and we know what the grindhouse is, and they gonna play defense and all that stuff. And then Zion, the Pelicans looked like they was the best team in the West, and then Zion has to sit down again. So there you go. And then the Warriors, they can't win.
I think they below 500, if I'm not mistaken.
It looks like the Warriors absolutely need home court advantage, or they're going to go home in the first round because their road record is just putrid. It looks like they'll be if they have to go on the road for the first round. It just looks like the Warriors are going to go home. Like at some point, you got to fix what's going on the road because to win the NBA playoffs and win the NBA championship, you're going to have to win on the road at some point. But
they are currently the 7th seed. They are 22 and 22.
Keep your eye on the Lakers. As crazy as it may sound, just keep your eye on the Lakers. The Mavericks, nice story. We know what Luka is. Luka ain't going to the finals. He's not going to sniff a championship until they get him some defense and a complimentary score beside him. Luka can't go out there and put up no 40 and 50-point triple dubs and expect him to win that championship.
What about Phoenix?
Yeah.
Phoenix
is done. They're done, man.
Phoenix is just Phoenix. Phoenix is just Phoenix. It was a nice story. They got to the NBA Finals, and that's that.
Well, no chip for Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Nah, Chris Paul, his best shot was in Houston. His best shot was in Houston, 2017. He pulled it in.
He had a few shots. All them Clipper
he had a few shots. The one against the series, 2 years ago against Milwaukee. That was their window.
I don't think he really had a chance with the Clippers. They had no playoff identity. When he was with the Clippers, it was Lob City. Like, okay, they reminded me of kind of like the Atlanta Hawks back in the mid '80s. They had Dominique, and they kind of had Kevin Willis and Moses Malone and some of those older Moses Malone, but they had a lot of athletes and they could dunk a lot. But when they played against a good team, like
also on that team, that Hawks team, Doc and Spud Webb.
Spud Webb. Yeah, they had a good team, but when it came down to like beating the Boston, it wasn't gonna happen. They weren't going to beat the Celtics. They had a nice team. That's kind of what the Clippers reminded me of. Like, I think they beat the Spurs one time, but like when it really, really came down to it, the Clippers were never going to beat the Lakers. The Clippers were never going to beat the Popovich Spurs. No. You got to have more than just Chris Paul running off screen and rolls and just throwing it and dunking. It just wouldn't have happened. So with that being said, now I'm not sold on Phoenix. Keep an eye on that NBA, especially that Western Conference. In the East, it's gonna be a dogfight. Like you would think with all this, how good Boston is playing, that it would be a total runaway. But you look up in the standings, like Boston lose 3 or 4 games in a row, the East is gonna be totally shaken up.
Yeah, I know, Doc. I know you said you weren't really sold on Denver, but I've been watching them, and I like the additions that they made. You know, they brought in KCP, who's won a championship, and then Bruce Brown is like he comes off the bench and he gives them a lot of energy. And then Aaron Gordon has rounded out his game. I really like what I'm seeing in Denver. I wasn't sold before, but since I've been watching them, they look like they're for real this time. But we'll see.
They'll lose in the first round of the playoffs if they play the Lakers. If the Nuggets play a fully healthy Lakers team,
Yeah.
they're gonna lose.
Well,
They're the Denver Nuggets. It's kind of like the same. It's kind of like it's like with the Chargers. Like
yeah.
it's kind of like
I can see that.
It's like they're the Nuggets. Come on, man. It's like they're the Chargers. Like the Chargers have never done anything but screw up. And then when they did by the grace of God make it to the Super Bowl, they got the doors blown off of them. So it's kind of like if I'm the Lakers and I'm just like, if Denver is the gold standard in the West, you just let me get my boys healthy. Just let me get my boys healthy, and I know I got the best player on the court in LeBron James. I mean, as good as Joker's playing, and he's probably going to win the MVP for the third time. LeBron James is almost 40 years old, and I'm not taking Jokic over LeBron. Period. I'll take a 38-year-old LeBron if I had the number one pick in the draft over Jokic right now. So what does that tell you? You got the best player, and if Anthony Davis can just come back, that's a big if. Like Greasy was saying, that's a big if. But if you're the Lakers, and let's just say you can see the future, and you said, okay, we're going to go to the playoffs, and Anthony Davis will not get hurt. And look at the West. And you tell me the Lakers can't be like, let's just get in there. Because like I said, at the end of the day, Memphis going to do something stupid. And Zion, it seems like it just seems like Zion he's just very, very close to becoming an Anthony Mason. Every time you look up, something is structurally wrong with him, or he's got to sit down, I'm not wishing that on anybody. But at any rate, we're going to wrap this one on up, and we're going to slide on up out of here, man. It's been a blast. It's been nice talking to y'all. Like I said, don't forget to slide on over to all the social media places. You know where you can catch us, all the podcast platforms. Anywhere you're looking for any type of scroll, anywhere on social media, Google us, man. We on that thing. We do it. We do this thing once a week for the main show. And then we got the Tuesday Night Rewind edition. Took a pause for the cause the last week. Some unforeseen incidents come up. God bless the Walker family. We're going to slide it up out of here. It's been a blast. It's for Doc, the producer, Greasy Don, Juice Man, the Boogie with the highlights, King Dre, and Big E on assignment. Had a couple things going on with some youth sports. So we dig that and we support that 100%. But until the next time, y'all, enjoy the divisional round in the playoffs. Check out some of that NBA basketball. It's the Just Knowing Sports Show every Friday night, 8 p.m. Anchor FM, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Y'all be safe.